Hey guys, welcome back to literature. I miss you guys so much, but let's get started on today's lesson. A few announcements. I hope you guys enjoyed watching the play. It's very interesting to see a play or a book be turned into a performance, a movie or a play, because each play will be different according to the director. So for me, I imagined the witches way different than how they were in the play that you guys watched. So if I was the director, I would make them a little different. And that's kind of the beauty of turning text into movies, is that whoever is the director gets to tell the tale how they saw it. Next thing, you can still turn in late work for a 70%, even if it's been a little longer than a week. I am being flexible here, because I know some of us are falling behind. So, just let me know if you needed a little extra time, and you got it. Just communicate with me. If this class typically takes you more than an hour, come to my office hours and we can get done together in way less time. The code is my last name, Augustinelli, _ RL office hours. So come at 2:45 and I will help you. Your due now is to write a summary of Act 1 in your own words. Make sure you read what is on the screen here. Pause your video and take 3 minutes to respond. Go. Okay, so a summary of Act 1 is that 3 witches bestow upon Macbeth a prophecy. Here are some interpretations of what those witches looked like. I kind of like this one. So they tell him that he will be the Thane of Glamis, the Thane of Cawdor, and that he will also be king. He was already the Thane of Glamis, so he says, duh, I know that, but later is shocked when he becomes the Thane of Cawdor. And so he thinks, wow, they were telling me the truth. And so he starts to wonder if he'll become king, and what will he do to have to become king? So today's objective, Kipsters will be able to craft a logical argument about whether or not guilt and wrongdoing can drive someone mad, and also under what circumstances. So you will cite evidence from Macbeth, Act 2, Scenes 1 and 2 in order to do this. This is interesting because certain acts make us feel guiltier than others, and sometimes some people won't feel guilty at all about one thing, and somebody else would feel super guilty for it. So an example is if I drove my car and I was being really reckless and I hit someone with my car and I drove off and I got away with it. That guilt might drive me insane because I know that I might have seriously hurt a person. But if I borrow my sister's clothes, yeah, I know it's wrong if I borrow them without asking, but I'm not really going to go insane over it because it's not that big a deal. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. If guilt can drive someone crazy, and then what's the line? When do people go crazy? So we're about to start reading and dive right in. So you can either read along with me in this video, which is the easier option, I would say, or you can read Act 2, Scenes 2 and 3 on your own using the link on your worksheet. And so that is where you will stop the video here and finish on your own. Make sure you read all directions for exit ticket and questions. Okay, if you are reading with me, here are the questions that we will be answering together. Our first one we are going to encounter on page 17 and 18. So let's get started. Okay, Act 2, Scene 1. Banco enters with Fleance, who lights the way with a torch. Banco: how's the night going, boy? Fleance: the moon has set. The clock hasn't struck yet. Banco: the moon sets at 12, right? Fleance: I think it's later than that, sir. Banco: here, take my sword. The heavens are being stingy with their light. Take this too. I'm tired and feeling heavy, but I can't sleep. Merciful powers, keep the night wares away that plague me when I rest. Macbeth enters with a servant who carries a torch. Give me my sword. Who's there? Macbeth. A friend. Banquo. You're not asleep yet, sir? The king's in bed. He's been in an unusually good mood and has granted many gifts to your household and servants. This diamond is a present from him to your wife for her boundless hospitality. He hands Macbeth a diamond. Macbeth. Because we were unprepared for the king's visit, we weren't able to entertain him as well as we would have wanted to. Banquo. Everything's okay. I had a dream last night about the three witches. At least part of what they said about you is true. Macbeth. I don't think about them now. But when we have an hour to spare, we can talk more about it if you're willing. Banquo. Whenever you like. Macbeth. If you stick with me, when the time comes, there will be something in it for you. Banquo. I'll do whatever you say, as long as I can do it with a clear conscience. Macbeth. Rest easy in the meantime. Banquo. Thank you, sir. You do the same. Banquo and Fleance exit, so now Macbeth is alone with the servant. Macbeth to the servant. Go and tell your mistress to strike the bell when my drink is ready. Get yourself to bed. The servant exits, so now Macbeth is alone. So this is the part we're going to get a question about. The question is, what do you think he is feeling and how is it affecting him? Is this a dagger I see in front of me with its handle pointing towards my hand? To the dagger. Come, let me hold you. He grabs at the air in front of him without touching anything. I don't have you, but I can still see you. Fateful apparition, isn't it possible to touch you as well as see you? Or are you nothing more than a dagger created by the mind, a hallucination from my fevered brain? I can still see you, and you look as real as this other dagger that I'm pulling out now. He draws a dagger. You're leading me towards the place I was going already, and I was planning to use a weapon just like you. My eyesight must either be the one sense that's not working, or else it's the only one that's working right. I can still see you, and I see blood splotches on your blade and handle that weren't there before. To himself. There's no dagger here. It's the murder I'm about to do that's making me think I see one. Now half the world is asleep and being deceived by evil nightmares. Witches are offering sacrifices to their goddess Hecate. Old man murder, having been roused by the howls of his wolf, walks silently to his destination, moving like Tarkin, as quiet as a ghost. Speaking to the ground. Hard ground. Don't listen to the direction of my steps. I don't want you to echo back where I am and break the terrible stillness of this moment, a silence that is so appropriate for what I am about to do. While I stay here talking, Duncan lives. The more I talk, the more my courage cools. A bell rings. I'm going now. The murder is as good as done. The bell is telling me to do it. Don't listen to the bell, Duncan, because it summons you to either heaven or to hell. Macbeth exits. You are going to answer this first CFU. It's check for understanding. So he sees a dagger hovering in front of him with blood on it that is a figment of his imagination, and he is holding a dagger. So what do you think he's feeling and how does it affect him? Let's take 2 minutes to answer this question. Go ahead and answer this, pause it, and answer it on your worksheet. Okay, so if you got something along the lines of this response, then you are doing well. So in Macbeth's monologue, how is he feeling? How is it affecting him? So he is already starting to feel ashamed and guilty for the act of betrayal that he is going to commit. It is affecting him physically as he is seeing things that aren't actually there. So let's go back. Our next question will be on page 20. Let's see. Lady Macbeth enters. The alcohol that got the servants drunk has made me bold. The same liquor that quenched their thirst has fired me up. Listen, quiet. That was the owl that shrieked with a scary good night, like the bells they ring before they execute people. Macbeth must be killing the king right now. The doors to Duncan's chamber are open, and the drunk servants make a mockery of their jobs by snoring instead of protecting the king. I put so many drugs in their drink that you can't tell if they're alive or dead. Macbeth, from offstage. Who's there? What is it? Lady Macbeth. Oh no, I'm afraid the servants woke up and the murder didn't happen. For us to attempt murder and not succeed would ruin us. She hears a noise. Listen to that. I put the servants' daggers where Macbeth would find them. He couldn't have missed them. If Duncan hadn't reminded me of my father when I saw him sleeping, I would have killed him myself. Macbeth enters carrying bloody daggers. My husband! Macbeth. I have done the deed. Did you hear a noise? Lady Macbeth. I heard the owl scream and the crickets cry. Didn't you say something? Macbeth. When? Lady Macbeth. Just now. Macbeth. As I came down? Lady Macbeth. Yes. Macbeth. Listen, who's sleeping in the second chamber? Lady Macbeth. Dunalban. Macbeth, looking at his bloody hands. This is a sorry sight. Lady Macbeth. That's a stupid thing to say. Macbeth. One of the servants laughed in his sleep and cried, "Murder!" and they woke each other up. I stood and listened to them, but then they said their prayers and went back to sleep. Lady Macbeth. Malcolm and Donalban are asleep in the same room. Macbeth. One servant cried, "God bless us!" and the other replied, "Amen," as if they had seen my bloody hands. Listening to their frightened voices, I couldn't reply "Amen" when they said "God bless us." Lady Macbeth. Don't think about it so much. Macbeth. But why couldn't I say Amen? I desperately needed God's blessing, but the word Amen stuck in my throat. Lady Macbeth. We can't think about it that way I'm sorry, guys, I'm going to start this line over. We can't think that way about what we did. If we do, it'll drive us crazy. Macbeth. I thought I heard a voice cry, "Sleep no more." Macbeth is murdering sleep. Innocent sleep. Sleep that soothes away all our worries. Sleep that puts each day to rest. Sleep that relieves the weary laborer and heals hurt's mind. Sleep, the main course in life's feasts and the most nourishing. Lady Macbeth. What are you talking about? Macbeth. The voice kept crying, "Sleep no more," to everyone in the house. Macbeth has murdered sleep, and therefore Macbeth will sleep no more. Lady Macbeth. Who said that? Why, my worthy lord, you let yourself become weak when you think about things in this cowardly way. Go get some water and wash this bloody evidence from your hand. Why did you carry these daggers out of the room? They have to stay here. Go take them back and smear the sleeping guards with the blood. Macbeth. I can't go back. I'm afraid to even think about what I've done. I can't stand to look at it again. Lady Macbeth. Coward! Give me the daggers. Dead and sleeping people can't hurt you any more than pictures can. Only children are afraid of scary pictures. If Duncan bleeds, I'll paint the servants' faces with his blood. We must make it seem like they're guilty. Lady Macbeth exits. A sound of knocking from offstage. We might have 2 questions to answer. So you are going to go ahead, and answer this question. What is the tone of the interaction? So the conversation Lady Macbeth and Macbeth had, how did that interaction feel? What was the tone? And who are they going to frame for their crime? So go ahead, pause. I would say take about 2.5 minutes to answer both questions. so what answer do we have for that? So any word here that is negative, you're probably correct. The interaction between Lady Macbeth and Macbeth is very dark. It's bleak. It's morbid. You could say chaotic because Macbeth sounds like he's going a little crazy. If your word is negative, you're probably right. If your word is positive, something like happy or excited, you should check. Okay, your next CFU that you answered. Who are Lady Macbeth and Macbeth going to frame for their crime? And it was the servants who are supposed to keep watch while the king sleeps. They are also referred to as guards. So make sure your answers are correct. If you have something along these lines for each question, you should feel pretty good about yourself. You're doing great. At this point, if you need to take a break, I definitely encourage you to do so. 5 minutes is a good amount for me, but you know yourself, you know what you need. So go ahead, pause, take that break. Okay, kiddos, we are going to continue on from where we left off. So, next one. My hands are as red as yours, but I'd be ashamed if my heart were as pale and weak. What does Lady Macbeth mean by this on page 21? So, let's see, there it is. A sound of knocking from offstage. Macbeth, where is that knocking coming from? What's happened to me that I'm frightened of every noise? Looking at his hand. Whose hands are these? Ha! They're plucking out my eyes. Will all the water in the ocean wash this blood from my hands? No, instead my hands will stain the sea scarlet, turning the green waters red. Lady Macbeth enters. My hands are as red as yours, but I would be ashamed if my heart were as pale and weak. A sound of knocking from offstage. I hear someone knocking at that south entry. Let's go back to our bedroom. A little water will wash away the evidence of our guilt. It's so simple. You've lost your resolve. A sound of knocking from offstage. Listen, there's more knocking. Put on your nightgown in case someone comes and sees that we're awake. Snap out of your daze. Okay, so you guys are going to answer this question. Pause. This should take you maybe 30 seconds. Okay, so what Lady Macbeth is saying is that what she is doing is just as bad as what Macbeth is doing, but she is staying calm while he's panicking. So she's saying, oh my gosh, I would be ashamed if I were like you. She really has a almost harsh vibe to her, like callous, where Macbeth actually cares about his morals a little more. So this is where gender roles come into play, right? That was one of our ideas in this. Women should act a certain way, and Macbeth should act I'm going to rephrase. Women should act a certain way and men should act a certain way are these ideas in our society. They're very toxic, right? But this play is interesting because it kind of shows Lady Macbeth acting not how you'd expect a lady to act back then. Okay, we are almost done. Let's keep going. Macbeth. Rather than have to think about my crime, I'd prefer to be completely unconscious. A sound of knocking from off stage. Wake Duncan with your knocking. I wish you could. They exit. And that is the end of scene 2, kiddos. So for your final question. How do I get this to go right? Okay, so rather than to have to think about my crime, I prefer to be completely unconscious. What does this mean in your own words? Take a minute. What do you think this means? And Miriam, Macbeth is wishing that Duncan was still alive, so he already feels regret for what he did. Okay, we are on the last thing we have to do. So your exit ticket, I don't know why I prefer to see it over here. So If you don't understand the prompt, I've rephrased it here. Macbeth is already being racked with guilt and paranoia. It appears that guilt over his transgression or wrongdoing is driving him mad. Craft a logical argument about if when guilt/paranoia/regret can impact someone's sanity. Cite Macbeth Act 2 for evidence. So you're going to answer if and when, but you don't have to talk about all these words. You can pick one of these words. So here's everything you need to do to get 100. If you follow these sentence starters in order and plug your ideas in, you'll do just fine. So you'll choose one of these words. So let's say you choose paranoia. Paranoia can impact someone's sanity when they continue. In Shakespeare, and then you'll go to this next sentence. In Shakespeare's Macbeth, Macbeth feels blank because he blank. So make sure you just go in order. If you're a more advanced writer and you feel very confident in your writing skills, don't use these. Show me your own writing talent. I'd love to see it. That's all I have for you guys today. If you have any questions, come to those office hours. Miss you so much. Bye.